I'm going to do my podcast voice now. But you've got a better podcast voice than me.
No, you're okay.
All right. All right. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the podcast Chatzzz. And we have probably got the most special guest we could possibly have on this podcast today. The man who makes this happen, the man who got me into it as well and helped me out for them many months before I even started. And we've got the podcast editor, Phil.
Hello, how you doing?
So Phil, you know,
that was very nice of you.
Yeah, no, you are the most special person, because otherwise, without you helped me for like months before, didn't you? Like what gear to get and what to do. And
yeah,
I think I messaged you. Was it the summertime? I think, and then we only started in the winter, didn't we?
Yeah,
and investing that much like time and energy and effort into me without like giving you any kind of money back for that. I really appreciate that, and that's why obviously I went with you and I've stuck with you throughout, because I just think
I think reflecting, you helped me too, because you were one of my first clients. So I thought, you know, how do you get your first clients? You know, so you've got to give before you receive, don't you? I think so. Yeah, I could see how enthusiastic you were, and I thought, you know, yeah, let's get this guy podcasting and let's do this. So it was a first for me for doing video as well. So that was going to push me out of my comfort zone. So yeah. No, it was a mutually beneficial. Mutually beneficial, yeah.
So yeah, you know exactly how this podcast starts, then, don't you? Because you've edited 30 odd episodes now. So introduce yourself then to anybody that will be listening or watching this.
I forgot about that. But
first time. I forget to tell guests that anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, my name's Philip Brett King. I'm a podcast service provider. I help people launch and edit their podcasts. And I'm also, I won't say anything because I think that's going to be in my three things. So that's me. I just help people sound great online.
Nice. And then, let's go in the three facts. And
okay. Did
you struggle with this? Because loads of people struggle with this.
I did at first, but then I talked to my fiance and she was like, what about that? And that, oh yeah. So fact number one, I'm a professional voice actor. So I've appeared on a few adverts, not many big ones, but I've done Facebook and Dell and stuff like that. And I've also been a few characters in the Inquisitor Martyr Warhammer 40k, as I was Klosterheim, and I was also a priest as well, which was quite funny. So yeah, I've done a few things I've done there. Number two, I won £400 on a live TV show with Davina McCall. That was The Vault. And what was the other one? Cannot for the life of me think of the other one. If you talk about the first two, and I'll think about the third one.
So the first one, you did voice acting.
Yeah.
We've spoken about that before, haven't we? But how did you get into it in the first place? How did you think, I've got a really nice voice and people are going to pay me to do work?
I didn't come from that angle. I didn't think about my voice or anything. When I moved to London about 98, 99 in a band. That's my third one. I just remembered. We almost played at the Phoenix bar in LA.
Oh, really?
My band, yeah. Who's the guy that owned the Phoenix band? Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
So we nearly played there, but it all got cancelled.
Oh.
That's my third one. No, so voice acting. So when I moved to London, 98, got to work for a company called Loot, which was an advertising classified paper. And where I was in the marketing department, we had to look at certain things, and I came across voice over there. And I thought, that looks, that could be a side hustle, So I looked locally, and this guy in a massive studio said, it's going to be £200 for this, and it's going to be £400 for this. And oh, right, okay. I didn't know anything about it. So I thought that idea is a bit too much for me to, go into.
Yeah.
Then fast forward 15 years later, probably, or maybe 10 years later, broadband has appeared, getting bigger, is massive. And I was in my role, I worked for the hospital for a university and putting medical students through hospital. And while I was there, I went on YouTube and I found a guy called Bill Weiss, who was an American voice actor. And all his shtick was, you can be a voice actor from home. And I watched all of his videos and I went, okay, I can do this. So I've got my little voice booth in behind here, which I'll show you later.
Yeah.
And so I put that all together. I started going on these websites called pay to play. So you pay them 200 quid for a yearly subscription and they'd send you all the auditions that you wanted to do. So I'd basically be coming home from work, doing 2 hours of auditions. If they were coming through, I might do maybe 5 to 10 a day. And then one day somebody on Facebook said, can you do this? And I went, okay. And they said, we've only got this much money. I went, like, fine. So I did that. And then just started getting little jobs. And basically, after about a year, I started to get a lot of jobs. Probably about 10% of all the auditions I did, I would get, which is quite high
Yes.
at the time. I don't know, maybe it was my sort of type of voice, because I don't really have an accent, even though I was born in Wales and I'm Welsh. I don't have a Welsh accent. Well, I could put one on for you if you want. But I don't know. Something just clicked and I just get all these jobs and then started getting bigger clients contacting me. And I don't go on these pay-to-play sites anymore. I've got quite a reliant base of clients that come back to me for stuff. Most of it's all corporate stuff. So lawyers wanting new laws on their website. So I do that so that fresh new lawyers can learn the law. So, don't test me on any laws, but I've read thousands and thousands of pages of the law and and marketing and housing and different ways police can nab you. But yeah, it's very interesting, and it was my main hustle. I left the hospital after 8 years, and I just went for it because I was almost getting the same amount of money, and I thought, well, not as much, but I thought if I would do it full time, I bet you I could make as much as I was in my full time job. So I took a leap of faith. My fiance at the time went, go for it. So I had her support as well, which is great. She's my rock. And I went for it. And first year, not so bad. Second year, better. Third year, even better. So it kept exponentially getting better. Yeah. And so I was doing that. So it was quite good. And then, of course, I've started to think of other things I could make money with, because the voiceover industry is very sporadic, and you might get it's like buses. You might get nothing, and then you'll get 3 all at once.
But it's like brand deals, or creators and stuff, isn't it? Like you can get a few brand deals one month, and then the next month you may not get anything, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, exactly like that. Yeah. So that was the one thing I was struggling, because I knew nothing about managing my own business. I was just winging it.
Yeah.
And thinking, well, as long as I can cover the rent and the bills, I'm doing all right, So, yeah, I was sort of had that mentality, because I've always sort of winged it, really.
Yeah.
I've never had an ambition to do something. I've always sort of fallen into doing something, which I think a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I was never like yourself, selling Lucozade at school and making the mint, and stuff. If I'd have thought of that then, I thought, wow, why didn't I think, But no, I was just a kid and just going along with the flow and trying to just fit in. Yeah.
So then the second one was the £400 with Davina McCall.
Just turn my phone off, sorry. Yeah. So I was working in London, and basically I was working for Loot. I was in the property department, doing cold calling. It was a horrible job. Hated every second of it. And then a call out of the blue. We're filming a new game show called The Vault with Davina McCall. We'd like you to be a participant in the first show, so you can get it going.
Yeah.
And I talked to my manager at the time and said, I need 3 days off. She went, yeah, fine. So I went, awesome. Went down to Teddington Lock, I think it was. And luckily, not too far from it there. And lots of other people. They put us in a room and they did tests on us all. Not everybody made it through. I think if you look it up on YouTube now, you'll see that, I don't know if everybody's seen The Vault, but you had sort of 3 contestants on the left and 2 on the right. And the 2 on the right had the chance to make the big bucks. And the 3 on the left was sort of trying to take that from them through questions. So I got friendly there was an old lady from Glasgow. I think it was Glasgow or Edinburgh. And she'd never left Scotland anyway. And she was there with her niece. And she was in the big seat, and we got on well. And I took her on the bus around London on the Decker bus and showing her the sights and all this sort of stuff. She went on to win 11 grand.
No way.
Yeah. I'm so pleased for her. And the guy she was up against was a bit greedy, because I could have got him a lot more money the way the game worked. I ended up getting 400 quid, but I could have had a bit more. but he was a bit greedy, and so he didn't take my answer, and so he lost, and the lady from Scotland went on to win all the money. Yeah, but it was great. So the half of the show was recorded, but the 15 minutes were live. So I was on live telly. It was quite an experience.
I was going to say,
all my friends were laughing at me on the telly when I got home.
Did you always want to be on TV, or was it just like kind of just you got the phone call and you're like, oh,
it was a one-off. It sounded like an experience that was going to be a bit of fun, and it just got me out of the office and away from the job that I didn't really like.
Something different, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've only been on TV once, but I think, when I was younger, I think, not that I wanted to be on TV, but I always thought like, oh, that'd be cool. I'd like to do that.
Yeah.
I've been on Dinner Date. You had a Dinner Date?
Oh, yes, yes. I haven't seen it.
No,
But I remember you talking in one of your episodes about it. Yeah.
And that was just because business partner at the time when I was in Cardiff, he got a message on Instagram being like, do you want to go on it? He had a girlfriend, so he's like, oh, Adam will go on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was a really cool experience, isn't it? It's like, you feel like you're $1 million and you're like a celebrity.
Yeah.
And then as soon as it's finished, never speak to you again.
Nothing. Yeah. You're back to being normal again.
Yeah, but like I say, it's a cool story, isn't it? Like you say, you won 400 quid and you went down and
well, it's something I can bring up on this podcast. It's a fun fact. Everything else is a bit boring, So I can take that to my grave, that one. Yeah.
The third one was you almost played at the Phoenix then.
Yes.
Obviously, you're in a band.
I was in a band.
What kind of band you were in?
I was in a rock band from 13, 14 onwards till we were about 21, something like that. So basically, went through me and my two mates, we ended up having lots of other people in the band, but essentially it finally worked itself out to be the best format when there were just the three of us. I was the bass player, lead singer, frontman. Steve was on guitars, wrote like 99% of all of the material we did. Didn't do covers. And then Paul was on the drums, and we all met at school, and we were all in a dinner queue at school, picking those jam sandwiches that are in batter or whatever. They have weird things. And I said, let's do a band, because Steve said, oh, he's going to have guitar lessons. And I went, I'll go on drums. And Paul said he was going to go on the bass. But I didn't have a big enough house with a single parent. Dad got divorced, so I was living with Mum in Shrewsbury. Dad was still in Wales. And so I ended up getting the bass because it was a bit small to pull around.
Oh, yeah.
And so we just went from there, and we got somewhere locally just up the road, started practicing. And then when Steve could drive, we all went to a big shed somewhere, and we just practiced every day, near enough, or every other day for a good couple of hours. And we got about an hour's set. We got some demos done at some fantastic places, the Windings in Mould, where they've had Oasis and loads of other massive bands record there. So that was an experience. That was my favourite part of doing it all. I wasn't particularly liking live, so nerve-wracking being on stage. In the back of my head, I didn't really want to be famous either. I just liked being in a group. It was just a good crack, and the music was good too. So we ended up sending demos all around the world, and then we thought, right, let's go try and break America. So I sent stuff to Chrysalis Records, who got them interested, loads of A&R guys, and then one guy got us, we were at Johnny Depp's Viper Room on this date, and we're at this other place, another rock venue. So we were a rock band, basically, and I had short hair. So, we weren't like grunge and metalers or anything like that. And we were all saving up to go, and then we got a message from American Visas, said we're visas, we couldn't go.
No,
I don't know what it was, something about taking jobs away from Americans. They didn't think, they probably thought we were going to go there and let it disappear, But yeah, it all fell through, so we were gutted. But that's when we thought, right, okay, plan B. And we moved to London then, and we all got sort of jobs or doing bits and bobs, but mainly it was to gig in London at Islington, Camden, the Red Eye in Islington, the Castle in Camden, and other places. It wasn't to be. And we've ended up just basically working full-time jobs, and the music sort of seemed to just sort of dissipate. But it was a good choice. It got me out of trouble. I wasn't, a kid doing silly things. We were just focusing on the band and making music. So in that respect, I'm happy I made that choice. And it got me to London, which I think gave me another few choices as well in my life, which has got me here today. So I don't regret any of those.
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason, doesn't it?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I'm starting to believe that. Lots of things, karma and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So then What were you like? You mentioned it briefly then. What were you like growing up at school? You said you never really were selling like Lucozades and stuff.
No.
Where did you kind of like fit in, or what did you enjoy doing?
Well, obviously grew up in Wales. So up until about 10, I was at Welsh schools. So I was having to do everything in Welsh and English. I can't speak Welsh apart from a few words.
Sorada, Arab.
Arab, yeah, that's the only way.
I know the speak.
Arab, yeah. Sorada, yeah. Diolch yn fawr. And or the long one. I won't do it because it's,
Arab is on all the speed bumps in Wales, basically.
Yeah. Arab, yeah. Yes.
Headaloo is please.
Heatherly. Yes.
How do you pronounce it?
Yeah. No, very good. That's good. Yeah, very good. Yeah. Please, why do you know that one? Because of the cars. Yeah. Okay, right. Okay. Yeah, so in Welsh schools up until I was 10, did a lot of singing in choirs, basically.
Yeah.
So I liked singing anyway. And then, like I said, Mum and Dad got divorced. We moved to Shrewsbury because other family were here. And then I started in a Shropshire schools, one in Coleham, and then went on to the Priory Secondary School. I had, mates, not really best mates. There was like a collection of us until Priory, probably was 12, 13, then met Stephen and Paul, and we had a little plan of, little team like you do at school. Not really doing much, just messing about. Steve was an amazing artist. Paul was a good laugh. I was just sort of the big mate that would follow them around, just for a laugh. And we all had quirky sense of humour, and just got on with everybody. Teachers, thought I would do well. I probably should have done better than I did.
Everyone says
Yeah. I should have. But in the end, I don't think it really mattered. I think schools now should teach more on entrepreneurship, business skills from a younger age, especially money management, because my money management was absolute crap.
Yeah.
But now a lot better, a lot healthier, because I live within my means.
Yeah.
And I'm not all about the money. It's just enough to have the life I want, which is good.
Because at school, I speak about quite a bit. You learn, like, I like maths at school. I was good at maths. That's probably the one subject I was good at.
Okay.
But say like Pythagoras' theorem and that kind of thing, or like say in biology when you're dissecting all the frogs and
we
stuff.
never did any of that at my school. I missed out on that class.
But it's like nobody learns like how to like pay a bill, or like about council tax, or like you say about if you wanted to start a business, or I don't know, about whatever stuff like that. And they're some like getting a mortgage or something.
Yes.
Or how to rent a house or anything.
I know, those are massive things. I think they might do a little bit now in our local shopping centre. Every now and again, you see a load of school kids, and they've got their own little stall, and they're trying to sell things or a product or
young enterprise. We did that, yeah. But that was optional.
Was it? We never had anything like that when I was a kid.
Or like about credit cards and stuff and how important they can be. I only learned in the last few years about how important credit cards can actually be. Yes. If you use them properly.
Absolutely. Same here. Yeah.
And I didn't learn any of that stuff. I don't know if they do now, but they're like life skills, aren't they?
Absolutely.
And when you go to school, and most people go to uni these days, don't they? You're just expected to know these things when you don't. And you might learn about sex education or, like you say, Pythagoras' theorem, but realistically, when you go into real life scenarios, you're not really given the tools to...
You're not given anything.
Flourish,
Not really, no. It's like your story of when you got dropped off at uni and like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
It's like, okay. My mum was good. I think she pushed me to be better. And I think I like my own company, and I can survive on my own company. I mean, my fiance, is my rock, and I don't think I'd be doing what I'm doing now without her support and help. So I'm better with her, absolutely better. But I work well on my own, and I thought I could do everything as well. Obviously, as you grow older, you know that you can't, and then I found out that you can ask for help. It's not, it's not a bad thing, or it's not perceived as weakness if you ask for help. And I realized that. And so I'd ask for help on a lot of things. And I think that got me through a lot of stuff as well.
Yeah. So when you were growing up then, what did you want to be, or what did you want to do? Did you have any idea? Or when you got to like 16, was it like, I want to go to sixth form or uni, or I want to be a fireman or a pop star or whatever?
I think the pop star one was probably going in that direction because from 14 we were still practicing and learning our instruments. And then my qualifications were crap. So I went to SCAT, the Shropshire College of Arts Technology up the road, to try and do art because that was the only subject that I liked. Couldn't get on there. And they put me onto this other technical drawing thing. And it was all about architecture and measuring houses and doing landlines and all that sort of thing. And I just couldn't do that. So I did my maths and English at evening school to bump my grades up.
Okay. Yeah.
So my mum was like, "You've got to get a C in maths and English." And like, okay. So I did that anyway. But while I was doing that, I was actually working part-time at the local music hall, looking after as an usher in a cinema in the square. And so on a Thursday, I'd bunk off from SCAT, go and work there because I thought I'd rather be earning money than sitting here in this place. I think I just left the course in the end because I realized it wasn't going to give me anything, much to probably my mum's dismay. I think she tried to push me towards the Navy because I didn't have any aspirations apart from being in the band at the time. If I had any money, she was like, "Don't spend it on the band." And, and I think she thought I was going off in a wrong direction, because all your parents want you to be set on a path to a career or something like that. And I wasn't really showing signs of doing it.
I think it's hard for parents, isn't it, when they don't maybe understand as well, isn't it? Like, I don't know if your mum was in a band or not, but if she wasn't in a band, she doesn't really get, you know what I mean? Say when I first started doing my thing, and still now, my mum and dad don't really get what I do.
No.
So it's hard for them to understand.
My mum doesn't either. No. She was an accountant's clerk. She's the greatest accountant because she does all my accounts. And so, she can see how well I do, and she is proud. I know that. But yeah, I think as for career-wise, I was just 100% in on the band, and everything we did apart from that was just a means of making money and surviving. Yeah. My mum wouldn't let me in the house unless I had a job, so I couldn't go and doss on the dole. So I did have a job.
Yeah, that's important.
I worked in retail a lot. I'd worked in a Dunelm, the first Dunelms. I don't know if you know Dunelm.
Yeah, Dunelm, yeah.
Well, the first ever ones that got made. I got headhunted from a local bowling. I've had lots of jobs. Okay, lots of jobs. I worked at a bowling centre. I got headhunted from there to work at Dunelm, and they made me a deputy manager there when I was 21, and that was the first time I left home.
Okay.
Because I actually had enough money to actually pay rent somewhere, so I lived in the town. Then some horrible things happened, and some people can be quite nasty. So I eventually left that, and I went to work for a gentleman's outfitters. Where they give the white gloves for the snooker referees and all that sort of stuff. He was a brilliant manager. Ern Hemmings, his name, Ernest Hemmings.
Big
guy, like big bulldog of a man, brilliant. And so I went from that and then went to, that's when we went for London. I went to London from there onwards and then working in a wine shop, Victoria Wine. It was actually called Bottoms Up in Ealing High Street. And I travelled from Thames Road by the bridge that goes into Kew up there into Ealing every day on the bus.
Yeah.
And that was all right.
So why was it London? I know you said about the band, didn't it? You moved kind of for the band, but what appealed to you about London? Was it just because of the music scene then?
I think it was, if we couldn't get to America, we'd have to break London. So we'd have to go on the gigging scene there. Yeah. The thing is, at the time, the pubs wouldn't allow you to gig unless you brought people to the pub because all they were worried about is making money. The way it worked, you thought that the pub would market, we've got live music, and they do all the marketing and they get people in droves to watch the band and make, but what it was is they used the bands to try and attract their friends and their following. Yeah, but we did have a massive following because we'd only just come to London. So luckily we were, because normally if you'd very rarely do a gig on your own, there'd be 2 or 3 bands at a time. So we'd play with other bands, and I think people may have just followed us because they may have seen us play at one of these gigs. And I wouldn't say we had a following, but there was always quite a good audience in London compared to Shrewsbury. I think in Shrewsbury, our worst gig was playing to one person. Yeah.
Oh, back in the day when I used to do events, we had events where nobody shows up. That's what we used to do though. We used to put on like events and then get the local DJs and get them to sell tickets, and then that would build like the base crowd, then more people would go and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's a good model for like quiet bars and stuff.
Yeah.
Personally. Yeah, so then how did things kind of progress? And obviously you said the band didn't really work out, did it? And then
No.
you had you all got your normal jobs, and then what was like the progression after that?
Well, I was working at Bottoms Up, like I said, and we were all sharing a house. Me, Steve, Paul, and another guy, Lee Rhodes, who was he was actually Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar when it went on tour. Unfortunately, he's not with us now. He unfortunately committed suicide about 7 or 8 years ago now. Funny enough, I was listening to him on the YouTube not so long ago, and it brought back a lot of memories. But we were there, and we were all working, or most of us were. I was living on the mattress in the living room, and all the rest had rooms. So I had to say, right, I'm going to bed now, you can all bugger off. And it got to a part where London prices were mad. And I think unless you're earning over 18, 20 grand in London, you can't, I mean, now you'd need at least 25 grand, I think, to live comfortably in London, without having to worry about the bills at the door. I was on probably 18, something like that. So I needed more money. So that's when I had an interview with Loot, got the cold calling job.
Yeah.
Was terrible. Didn't like it, but it got me more money.
Yes.
Luckily, we got bought out by Associated Newspapers, who have the Evening Standard and all that sort of stuff. And I managed to move internally to admin. And then Justine, who was the marketing manager, asked me if I wanted to be a marketing assistant. And I'd start on 18. And I thought, hell yeah. I knew nothing about marketing. So she took me under her wing and basically taught me everything I wanted to know about marketing at that time. Because obviously the internet wasn't massive then.
Yeah.
It was just getting going. I remember Paul, my mate, who was with Loot already, he said, oh, they're doing the Loot Music Awards. We need a website. Can you do one? And I went, I don't know. I'll just say yes and I'll try. So I bought like the first version of, a cracked version of Photoshop, like 5 or something like that, and Microsoft Front Page, and managed to somehow cobble together a website. And that was my first sort of dabblings in working with video and websites. Computer. I've always liked computers, but I didn't have one until I was in my 20s. My mates had them all, but we never had one. But I had a natural affinity to them. I wasn't scared of them. And so that sort of got me on the tech side of things with the computer. And then, so working at Loot, then they had a reshuffle. So we had to apply for our own jobs. And there was me and another guy called Phil up for one job. And I thought, do I really like living in London anymore? I'm getting into debt because I'm trying to keep up with everybody else to go down a pub. And no, I can't go down the pub. But, I'll give you some money. No, I can't because then I owe you. So I ended up not liking the social scene either because I just couldn't afford it. So I thought, do I really need this job? What about if I moved home? Luckily, a girl said, why don't you go to uni? And I thought, I didn't think about that. And so I thought, so I looked into that, looked at a design degree, a BA in design at Wolverhampton University, called them up, and I actually gave in my notice on my job before they actually said I could get on the course. I was so excited. I didn't think. So I gave in my notice and thought, right, I'm going back to Shrewsbury, where all my family were. Luckily, I could stay with my brother who had a house. And the guy from Wolverhampton said, yeah, you're on the course. And I was fantastic. So I had grants then and loans and all this sort of stuff, which was still paying off. But
help me all.
Well, that got me doing a BA. So that's where I got a BA first in design. And I thought, right, I'll be a designer now. So I thought I've got a bit more structure now to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But at 30 years old, being a junior designer doesn't work. I didn't think about going it alone or being a freelancer. And I was just looking for jobs, and all of the senior designers were in their 30s and all the junior designers were in like 18, 19.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't get my foot in the door. And I don't know if it's because I knew my work was good enough, but I think they probably thought they may not be able to push me around as I was probably the same age.
Yeah, like mold you in what they want you to be.
Yes. So I'm not sure. I might be just grasping at straws at that, and they may have thought that. They may have thought I might be just going there for some experience and then I'll move on to somewhere else or something like that. I never actually got an answer to why I never got a job.
Oh, really?
So,
yeah. I feel like people more so these days, don't they? They try and ask for feedback, don't they? Like how did the interview go or that kind of thing. Yeah, I suppose it's just It's important to get feedback, isn't it? And whatever you do.
I think so. I mean,
Positive or
nowadays,
negative.
thousands of people going for a job, they just won't reply. They can't afford to, they can't reply to you. They haven't got the time.
Yeah.
So, it's up to you to follow it up. If you haven't heard anything in 2 weeks, then you usually go, the best thing is to just go for any interview and forget about it. And then if they come back to you, then that's positive. That's positive, isn't it? And then just don't take it personally that they haven't got back to you, because they might be inundated with thousands of people, especially nowadays.
So it's harder for people, isn't it, when it's like the first few interviews, isn't it? They will take it more personally. But if you've done like hundreds, used to the rejection, aren't you? You just get numb to it.
Yes. Yeah. I think if you had a rejection from 100, I think you will have to start looking at yourself and thinking, I must make a few changes. But no, where do we go from there? I can't remember.
So you're applying for the junior designer jobs, weren't you? And you're thinking, you never really thought about having your own business or that kind of thing?
No, never had any of that business acumen.
What's this job then?
I think I started working in pubs because...
So you gave up on the design?
Yeah. I did a few things like business cards and leaflets and stuff for friends and family and things that came up. And I think in my mind, consciously, I thought something will come up. But I started getting into working at the local pub, the Armoury, in town by the River Severn. And I was full-time there, or nearly full-time. I said, I can't do these dates because I'm at uni. Oh, I was at uni already. So I carried on and went full-time, obviously, when I couldn't get the design after uni. And then somebody there said, they take on these bank people at the hospital. So I applied for a bank job and I managed to get in with the Keele University undergraduates who have a base at Shrewsbury Hospital. And so I was an administrator there. So I fit in there with a small team and was there for 8 years.
Yeah.
My fiance met my fiance there. So that was a bonus. And gradually just, after working there for a while, just started to get a bit tired of it all. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. The people I was working with were being a bit toxic, being the only guy in the office.
Yeah, difficult.
Yeah. And so I started looking at things, and that's when I started looking on YouTube and I found the voiceover stuff. So that's when we get back to the voiceover, and then I left there. And then after 3 years of voiceover, COVID hit. I was just about to, I was doing photography as well. I have lots of hobbies and things, I like painting and chess and photography, and she took photography to a higher level to I've got a licentiateship with the Royal Photography Society, which is like the lowest one. You have like 3 tiers. But I thought, I want to do this professionally maybe. So that was one place I went off with, and I thought my design and photography could work well together. So I started doing that. And then
they said COVID hit. COVID seems to be a pivotal part in a lot of people's journeys.
Well, that's what it was. I designed this space as a photography studio.
Yeah.
And there was somebody online called Sue Bryce, fantastic New Zealand photographer. And I watched all of her videos and I bought some of her courses because I'd never done portrait photography. I've always been a landscaper. Landscaping wasn't selling well.
Yeah.
So I thought portraits, loads of people want portraits of their kids and their pets and stuff like that. So I thought, I know, I'll do that. So I went down that route. I sold a camera, a really old camera that I had and, cherished, called a Hasselblad, and managed to get a lot of money. It's a very, very expensive camera, but it managed to basically fit out my new studio from selling that. So I don't regret selling it because it got me this fantastic place that I can work in now. It's a nice creative space that I've made for myself. So, so photography, Photoshop, and with the voiceover started working with audio as well. When COVID hit, I thought, and nobody was allowed in your house. You can't do, I couldn't use my house as a studio anymore. So that went dead completely, just went like that. Yeah. I thought, what can I do now? And then the heavens aligned, and one of the people I went to get my voiceover website done, she came to me saying, do you know anybody that can edit podcasts? And I went, I could do that.
Yeah.
So, and that's where the podcast journey of MyPodcastAssistant.com started.
Yeah.
And it's just flown.
Yeah.
It's just doing brilliantly.
Because it's like you say, it's just been from one thing to the other, isn't it? You've never really had that goal in mind, but you just flitted between and just kind of jumped up and it just kind of happened. So then, what was it like then doing editing the first podcast? Was it a bit like nerve-wracking? Were you excited or a bit apprehensive?
I was excited because I was working with audio and not having to do the voice.
Yeah.
Somebody else's voice.
Because I suppose even for me, like listening back to my podcasts or my videos that I do, I think like, I don't know, it is hard. Well, for me, anyway, it's hard to listen back to, especially for you, if people are like physically paying you for your actual voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as a voice actor, you do just have to get over your own voice straight away. Overcritical,
I'd imagine. First, I suppose when you first start, that's the thing. I struggled as well with the videos.
Yeah.
Like videos, I think like it has to be perfect, but it doesn't have to be perfect, does it? Because other people would perceive that information or that delivery in an amazing way, won't they?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. No, I think you just have to concentrate on the content. I mean, as a voice actor, a lot of people think that if you're a voice actor, you put on accents and you do impersonations. Some do that. I don't. A lot of voice acting is basically your own voice because everybody's different. So nowadays, they like somebody, if they're advertising in a certain area, they want somebody with that local accent to do the advert for you.
Yes.
And in some respect, it's like a double-edged sword because you may not get the professional finished piece. You know, it's like on some TV channels now, you can tell that the voice acting is quite bad on some of the adverts, but they've got somebody who's just normal because the industry thought that they didn't want the professionally spoken,
overly produced
sort of stuff. And they just want normal people selling their products. And that's where it's gone now. The Me Too movement obviously brought in more women into the fold. And then obviously Black Lives Matter, more diversity started, inclusivity started to come into it as well. So the actual market got busier.
Yeah.
And so the jobs started to decrease. And it was good that I thought, I can have the voice acting and the podcast editing and run them both at the same time.
Yeah.
But because voice acting is so sporadic and the podcasting was every month there's an episode, it was more robust. So it felt more a better business decision to sort of put more emphasis on the podcast editing rather than the voice acting and change the voice acting to the side job and focus on the podcasting. And that's the way it's gone.
Yeah. So then how or when was it then you decided that you wanted to market the podcast stuff? Because I think I came across you. I put a post in a Facebook group, I think, saying something like, does anyone know how to start a podcast or something like that? I can't remember the exact post. And then somebody tagged your Instagram, I think it was.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was though.
My VA.
Was it?
Yeah.
Ah, right. Okay. Yeah. Good to see that she's doing it work.
Yes. Well, I got to a point where I can't do everything. And I'm not a massive fan of social media. Being an introvert, I quite don't like being in front of the camera, really.
Yeah.
And don't like just the whole thing, So I thought I need somebody to help me. And I found Cassie, a local VA, and she basically scoured Facebook and anything like that. She put my name up. And that's where we had our first conversation on Zoom, I think.
Yeah.
And it went from there. And obviously she looks after all my social media. So she'll come up with posts. I'll do the copy and she'll make it sound good.
Yeah.
She doesn't write all the copy. So she'll just give me a heading and I have to write about a certain subject and then she'll sort out the picture and then she'll do the scheduling. And she's been a great help as well. Cassie Evans. And she's also she's grown as well. We've both grown together and she's got her own VA business where she's helping other VAs as well.
Oh, nice.
So we've grown together and it's been quite a good collaboration. Yeah, I couldn't have got to where I am business side as well without her help in that way.
Because when was it or why did you think it was important to get that help then? Because I know when I first started out, and I had the business partner, it was two of us, but we wanted to do everything ourselves and we thought that we knew what was going to be best and we get the best results. But then when I went on my own, I quickly realized, I don't know when it was or what it was doing. It was more, you either employ or hire people who are better than you at what you do to pay for their skill set, or you pay people to do the menial tasks that you can do yourself, that you're just saving time, aren't you?
Yeah.
So what was kind of like the moment you thought, I should get somebody else in to help?
I was one of those people that thought I could do it all. And I think every job I've had up until now, has sort of given me the whole skill set to do what I'm doing now, marketing and audio editing and all of that stuff. And while I was working at the hospital, I got into listening to audiobooks. And I'd hide away in a corner listening to audiobooks while I was doing work, and I ended up just getting lots of business audiobooks and how to do business. And nearly all of them with the consensus was like, you're getting out of your own way. And it took me a while, because giving ownership of some part of your business to someone else, because you're not in control of it, is quite scary.
Oh, definitely.
But it all just made sense. And there was one audiobook, I can't remember which one it was, and it just says, write down all the things you're good at on the left and all the things you don't like on the right, and then get somebody to do all the things you don't like, basically, was what it was. And it was social media and some of the bits and bobs. And then Teresa, a client of mine, my first client who got me into podcasting, she had a couple of VAs from the Philippines. And I thought, I could try and do that. But the process of getting one from the Philippines was a bit long-winded. And then I saw somebody on Instagram, a local VA in the Shropshire area. And I thought, well, why not use local talent to help me rather than somebody in another country? I thought, look after yourself and people around you. So I thought that would be a good choice. So that's where I chose Cassie. And I think she does like 10 hours for me a month.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, our relationship has been defined over the last couple of years, where we can read each other's minds now. Well, she can read mine a bit more than I can read hers, but essentially, a lot. It's just great to have somebody you can bounce ideas off as well, work-wise, and because she works with other people and in the way she works, she gets lots more business ideas than I can on my own.
Yeah.
So I just made the leap. And I thought, right, we'll do this for a bit, see how it goes. And then I think we've been like 2 years now, I think, together.
I think that's cool, isn't it? Like, for me in my business, I think the thing I struggle giving away at the moment is the social media aspect. So I think, I can't really afford to pay someone full time. No. I think I'm better than anybody else at doing the social media ideas or the text, even though, have you heard of ChatGPT?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's what I use now. So that's better than me. Yes. Say Johnny, who does the videos, and we've got Zishan, who does the edits. And we've got Maha and Musa, who do the lead source and booking and meetings and stuff.
Wow.
The social media thing is a thing that I like. And And I like doing it. And the thing that, like you say, you hold yourself back, don't you? I was saying to Zishan the other day, I'm holding the process back because I like to make sure the edit is perfect before he edits it finally and puts on the captions and all that kind of thing. Yeah. And I'm saying that I'm just holding up the process. Like, it's so much time, and you do sometimes just need to, I feel like I need to let go more and just trust the other people that you're paying to do the job.
Exactly. Their zone of genius.
Yes. And it is hard, isn't it? But
it is. It's very hard. Very hard. But I think when you get to that point where you realize you are your own worst enemy, you're getting in your own way, and you give something to someone else to do, other things start to pop up. They think, I'll get them to do that too. It's not like get them to do everything and end up doing jack. But you just have to realize that there are people out there that love doing the stuff you hate doing, and they're really good at it. So why not? And I think this was another relationship with money I had. I thought, can I afford to do this? And I thought, well, there's lots of money mindset you have to get over. And I thought, well, we'll do it for a bit and see. But I realize now that paying for a VA pays back in tenfold. And you have to just realize there's this constant flow of money. You have to spend money to make money, I believe. And it's some sort of fluid thing. You can't sort of hold on to it or save it. You can save it, obviously, but you can't just hold on to it and penny pinch everything. You've got to allow it to move. And once I started doing that, I found my whole perspective on the business as well changed, because I was being more open. And I think that's where I started to get more clients as well, when I realized I wasn't desperate. If you're desperate for money, then you kind of put up a barrier in front of you. And I think if you're not desperate for it in that sense of, I just need the money, if you think, right, well, if I pay a VA, they'll do this for me, which will generate more work for me, which will give me more money this way. Plus I'm creating a job for someone else. And it just sort of opened up my perspective on business. And I think that's where, what's the word I'm trying to look for? A lot of people use it. They have like a board where they put pictures of things they'd like to have and stuff, or ask the universe for something, manifestation. I'm quite a spiritual person, and I believe in stuff like that does work. And so far, it's sort of, things have opened up. And the more open I am, the more I allow good things to happen to me as well. So, for example, I was going along with maybe 4 or 5 clients, doing reasonably well, and then a person said, oh, can I have a Zoom? Had a Zoom. I want to use my editor because mine's going on maternity leave. Then her friend, who was using the same editor, went for me as well. And then suddenly I had 4 or 5 clients just from one client from an Instagram post, because I said, why did you pick me? And she goes, I just went on your feed and I got a good vibe. Yeah. And that's where I attracted her and her friends, and sort of the clients have gone exponentially from there because they're all sort of coaches. Yeah. And so they have a network of other people that want to launch podcasts as well. So being open has allowed that to happen.
Yeah. I think, like you say, it is important to spend money, I think, in business or your personal life. Yeah. Live within your means as well. But
yes,
say for me, I like going and experiencing new places and going on holiday. Like, say, just went to Dubai for my birthday.
Fantastic.
And, I like going to somewhere like that where it's motivating. And I think, like, I'd like to live here, but could I afford to live here?
Yeah.
Or what would I have to do to be able to afford it? And then work my way back and think, oh yeah, all right, sign 4 more clients and I'll be able to get in this place and then live this life. Yeah. You have to fly back and forth and that kind of thing. And
that's busy.
Yeah. But my mind thinks like that. And like you say, when you first start out, you think, oh, I don't want to spend any money because then I'd be spending that money and I wouldn't keep that myself.
Yes.
But then it depends what you want, isn't it? Are you thinking short term to earn however much, be super, super busy and have no free time? Or do you want to spend a bit of money now to then grow a business or grow a team and that kind of thing? Just depends what your goals are, doesn't it?
But your team's quite big now, isn't it?
I've got a solid team. Like Yoni does all the videos in Cardiff, I'm going to see today.
Yeah.
And then I've got Musa and Maha outreach. And then I've got Zishan who just edits as well.
Wow.
So that's what I mean. I'm podcast not about me, but I'm trying to grow a team, to grow a business, and to be able to do that. And that's my goal and ambition. You know what I mean? To have
I've seen that, and I've seen how you've grown over the episode, and you've given me some inspiration as well. I mean, I've got to a point now where I'm at capacity, and I can't. I need another editor, and that's another. I've got to another place where giving up my sort of, because my values, I hold integrity very highly in my values. So if I do a good job and make the client happy, then they will refer me, or they'll just keep coming back to me. And if I keep that integrity rock solid, then that's a good way to just keep clients and keep attracting other clients as well. So to give up the editing section to someone else is going to be a big jump for me. And that's quite scary for me. I'm going to have to obviously monitor what they do as well. But if I can get the right person, so, I'm looking for an audio editor, not just yet, but I'm looking for one who, can work at the right price. Somebody who's maybe fresh, new, starting out, and obviously,
that's what you want, isn't it?
Exactly. It's a small business. I could take under my wing.
Yeah.
I know who could give advice to. Youngsters nowadays will probably know a hell of a lot more about audio than I do, because I do use tools in a way. I use a lot of AI tools in my processing and stuff, because the workflow is so much quicker. I wouldn't be able to do 3 or 4 podcasts a day without the workflow I have. An audio fanatic would probably think, sacrilege that I'm using these tools because, that's not how you do it. But
get with the times, though, isn't it?
Yes, and going with the times. Like you said, ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm keeping an eye on AI only because there's AI for voiceover already.
Oh, okay.
There's
the TikTok auto-generated voices. They're crazy, aren't they? They're crazy good.
Well, there's even my friend just sent me. Right, we're going to have to sue these people, and he sent me. It sounded like a radio broadcast interview with some famous people, but they were talking about the band I used to be in.
Oh no!
And I thought, what's this? Why is this? And he made it all in AI.
Oh,
it was so realistic, though.
Yeah.
And I thought, what if they can do that? And I know there are a lot of places that do AI for voice acting. And I think in the days of voice acting, like 20, 25 years ago in America, in a world, they'd be earning 6 figures for doing like a movie trailer, something like that. And you think nowadays, people are going, oh, can you do it for 50 quid? Oh, they'll go onto this website and they'll get an AI voice to do it for them, which is great, but it just means it doesn't.
It's no job for them anymore.
No, you have to find. So that's why I'm keeping a pulse, a finger on the pulse of AI, because I know at some point. See, with me podcasting, my clients, it's more about the time it takes them to edit rather than learning the equipment to edit with. That's their main fear is, I haven't got time to do this. I could be earning money doing what I love doing or what I'm better at. So I'm not worried about things like Adobe Podcasts coming up with their thing that can make you sound great.
Yeah, I've seen that. I do that with clients, with their videos.
I use some of that some of the time. If I'm in trouble, I tweak it first to go into that, and then I might go into something else as well. But I'm keeping my finger on the pulse just in case something comes along that covers the whole aspects of editing that I would be defunct. But I need to sort of just keep an eye on it. I don't think it will be. I
was going to say, I still think it needs
10
that
years
human.
maybe. 10 years down the line, there might be something.
Like I say, it's the time thing, isn't it? I suppose is the main thing that I'm just saying from my perspective, I don't know about your other clients, but even just uploading the files to the Google Drive takes ages.
It does.
Yeah. And then say if I had to upload all the files and then I had to edit and then match the clips and then get cut out ums and ahs and the gaps and stuff. And it's just like, I can't bother doing that.
The thing I use takes out all the ums and ahs. You still have to listen to the whole podcast though to check because it doesn't do it 100% all the time. Then I've got something that just takes out all the gaps. I just do click, they're all gone. I don't have to go through anything. Make the audio sound great and Bob's your uncle. Yeah. But
I suppose, like you say, it's you doing all them things and then checking that it's all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then
that's my integrity bit. I have to listen to it to make sure there isn't a cough or a sneeze or a dog barking or a helicopter or, there's some stuff that you cannot take out of a podcast,
Why do you think podcasts have got so big then recently?
I think it is all because of COVID, because people were trapped in their homes for so long. They wanted some other way to pass the time. So, TV's a bit nap nowadays. You got your streaming services. So why not listen to an audiobook? Why not listen to a podcast? They're still not where they are yet. I mean, YouTube videos are, billions. So podcasts have still got a long way to go. They say that the famous podcasts aren't doing as well, like the ones you'll get Joe Rogan or you'll get the BBC doing their podcasts and things. But I think that's famous people because they're putting money into that. Whereas Joe blogs with his own business, he's maybe bootstrapping it, using the minimal equipment he can use, editing it himself or herself and getting it out there. And people are listening to those niche podcasts that that they like. So could be on topics. I mean, like top podcasts like on crime and stuff like that. But then you've got business ones, people that talk about knitting, motorhome, caravanning, marketing. So if you have an interest, there's a podcast out there for your audience to listen to. So it is the most intimate form, I think, of marketing. And I sort of put it in social media because it's a sort of a social thing. Yeah. But you're in somebody's ear or you're in the car listening to work, or while you're walking the dog or something like that, you're in those little moments of time when they're on their own, in their own space, but you're in that space with them. And I think because of that, that's the attraction of podcasts. And I think they will grow exponentially from here onwards as well. I think as technology gets better, like you said about uploads and downloads, I mean, I didn't realize that you could ask for the highest download speeds, but the upload speeds were always at really low.
Yeah, the uploads are a nightmare.
So that's why I've paid for the one with the biggest uploads. So I doubled that amount. But still, your videos, your 3 gig of video will still take me 10 minutes to download.
It's takes a whole night to upload it.
Yeah. Whereas I'll probably download all yours in an hour or half an hour. But yeah, as technology gets better, there's more ways people will listen to it. Like, you might have an Alexa. It's not listening to me. So you might have one of those. And, you'll listen to it that way. Listen to it in the kitchen. I just think they're just going to grow and grow because people like...
Sorry, I'm not sure.
Alexa, stop. So, yeah, I think they're going to keep growing. And I don't think there's anything new going to come out on the scene as of yet.
Anytime soon, no.
And I think because you can be so niche with a podcast and directly to your sort of avatar, your customer, your client, then I think that's going to be the main way to go going forwards for any business. I think every business needs to have a podcast.
Yeah, I'm recommending it to my clients.
I should have one.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say that.
I'm so busy editing other people's.
That's always the case, isn't it? You always too busy to do your own stuff.
I have got a goal on the side. If I get to a certain point when I do take on another editor, then I'll probably get into it. But I'm not wondering what to talk about because
podcasts,
helping people edit their podcasts is quite a visual thing. Whereas describing how to do it is, I can think of ways around it maybe.
You talk about improving the podcast or podcast problems.
That's what I'm thinking of. And it'll be more of a maybe how to attract more clients or more listeners, how to monetize, which I don't do that stuff at the moment. So that's going to be another learning curve for me to get into.
And you could use your new editor, test him out or her out on your own one.
Yeah. I think that'd be a way of testing it. Yeah, good idea.
That's the way I did with my editor.
Thanks.
I got him to do my videos first and for the clients. But I was going to say,
cool.
What makes a good podcast then?
Oh, blimey. Makes a good podcast.
If you had to maybe nail down 2 or 3 things that are important.
I think consistency is in the top 3, I'd say.
I think that's my best attribute in my life, just being consistent.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter how good or bad you are, if you're always there, it'll be like Marmite. People will love you or they'll hate you. So you go up, but you have to be there.
Yeah.
And you have to pick a day and a time and be on time. And then people will get into a rhythm of when they listen to you or watch you in their daily routines. So I think that's very important.
I agree. I think consistency over everything, isn't it? Like you say.
Yeah. Because you don't have to be perfect.
No.
It's like video, for example. Video is half video, half audio. If the video is bad, but the audio is good, they'll still listen to it.
Yeah, I think audio is more important though, isn't it? Because
if the audio is bad,
they won't. They won't. Yeah. If you think, like even with me, if I'm watching the football, I may be listening to it, but I'll be on my phone. But the audio is good, isn't it?
Yes.
And then you hear, it's a goal scored, so you go and have a look.
Yeah.
But the amount of people that will start something and like launch an Instagram page or announce something on Facebook, like starting a new venture or whatever, and then 2-3 weeks down the line, they've given up. It's just,
I know.
People just want that external validation, don't they? Of, they're doing really well or they're really cool, whatever. But
that's the thing,
you don't want to put in the work and the grind or the graft over time to get to the end result. They just want the end result without the
straight away.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I think that comparisonitis is a really bad thing. If you're just starting something and you're looking at other people who've been doing it for years, you cannot put that pressure on yourself. You just have to ignore everything or everybody. So if you see somebody that's doing a good job on Instagram, really, you must not watch or look at anything they do, or at least not put so much impetus on that you have to do as good a job.
Yeah.
You just have to say to yourself, okay, I'm on my 30th post. They've done 300 posts.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for 5 years. I've been doing it for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Okay. I just need to ignore that. Just keep on doing what I'm doing. And eventually you'll find that you'll get a return on that investment of time and effort.
Because have you listened to Modern Wisdom by Chris Williamson before?
No, I haven't.
No. So he does a podcast that's massive now.
Right.
More like interviewing lecturers at like Harvard and really intellectual.
Okay. I think
people.
Rings a bell. Yeah.
You've probably seen it, but if you haven't listened to it. And I remember thinking, like in COVID or whatever, I was thinking, yeah, this podcast is going well. That's really impressive. So what I did is I went to his oldest videos and had a look at his first ones.
That's a good way of doing it.
And his first one was like one of them Yeti mics, and he only had one mic, and he had two guests either side, and just sat in like a random cupboard thing. And I'm thinking,
fantastic.
So that's where he started from. That's where he is. And then you see like about episode 100 or something. Like some of his episodes didn't have video, and some of his episodes did. And, and you think like, oh yeah, we just need to stay consistent and get there and just improve little bits as you can, and just develop it over time. And so what would you say is the second point then? Consistency is the most important thing.
Consistency.
One of the most important things.
Audio quality. I'm going to say that as a podcast editor, but that's why I try and instill in all my clients a good standard practice of what to do. It's like, I've been going on at you for years, but stop holding your microphone because you'll start getting little taps on it and stuff like that. But, I can usually get around that. You're okay. Yeah. But it's like being in front of your microphone, but not directly on it. Yeah. Stuff like that. So I go to my clients, as well as editing their podcasts for them, I also give them all the tips and tricks of setting up their audio chain. So if they're using a USB mic, that's fine. Then I can tell them some microphone technique so that they're not getting plosives, which is the air from your mouth that picked up on the mic. And sometimes not having the mic under your nose as well, because if you're breathing, you're going to pick up the breathing as well. So having it just to the side of the mouth works brilliantly. So you can talk across it like I'm doing now. I'm still pointing at my mouth, but I'm speaking that way. So giving them those tips and tricks, things like not soundproofing, but acoustic dampening. So I've got a few little panels on the back there. They don't really do much in this room, to be honest. When I'm standing here at my desk, I got a standing desk because I thought I might lose a bit of weight doing that. But
do you stand then much?
Most of the time, yeah.
All right. Okay.
I might sit on the stool you're on.
Yeah, because I've thought about getting a standing desk, but I've always thought, I'm never going to stand, but I probably would.
Well, it just allows me a bit more space. So if I'm listening to a podcast, I could be doing my weights, or I could be doing I've got like a vibrator board there or something like that. I could be doing some Keep Fit while I'm listening to the podcast, and then do the edit and then get back on to doing something, that was the plan. But it's more or less, I do more like stretching and like calisthenics type stuff now. I used to do Tai Chi, but I've forgotten all of the moves now. So I just try and do a bit of exercise while standing up. But standing in the middle, I've got the speakers directly in each ear, and it's fantastic sound there. So that's how I've got that set up. But just teaching people in their homes, like the best room, the room where you're recording is the most important. So it's not about getting the best equipment. If you have the best microphone in the worst room, you're going to pick up all of the bad audio in that room. Yeah. So I tell everybody, get a room that's quiet, away from traffic, windows, main roads. Cupboard is good. Luckily, I've got a walk-in closet here that I can use for my VO. And then basically using soft furnishings like cushions, curtains. These things absorb the sound, because when you speak, the sound hits the walls. If you can imagine like your voice as a tennis ball, it'll hit all the different, rebounding off all the walls before it comes back to the microphone. And that's called reverberations or echo or something, you could call it like that. So if you get things in the room that will absorb those sounds, like cushions and pillows and mattresses, then you'll get that really sort of dead sound that you normally get on broadcasting. Yeah. There's microphone technique. If I get closer to the microphone like that, I'll be like a lot deeper and you won't hear any echo. But normally you have a bit of air around you just to make it sound natural. But things like that, I just talk to my clients to get them recording properly. And then the editing side of things is then that much easier for me at the end.
Yeah.
if you're recording in a kitchen with wooden floors and you're reverberating everywhere, that's the worst thing to edit. And like you said, one of the episodes you said you didn't even know that the microphone wasn't working or something, but I managed to pull the audio out and get it to sound normal.
Yeah.
That's what I can do. But if you can record, like the old saying, you can't make a purse out of a sow's ear, or the other one is you can't polish a turd.
Yes.
But if you get the recording right first off, then the editing is that much easier to do later on down the line. So I try and support all my clients from that respect.
Oh, definitely.
Like I have done with you, you've got the equipment, you've got the mic I suggested.
Yeah, I've got everything that you suggested, yeah.
I'm really impressed with the setup you've got. It's fantastic.
And then third, what would you say the third thing is? So we said consistency, then the sound quality.
Sound quality.
The last thing, would it be about the topic or not?
No, I don't think topic, because I think topic would speak for itself. I think it might have to be...
Put it on the spot here.
Mindset, maybe.
What do you mean by that?
I think you have to show up on your best game. You can't be, I've got to record a podcast today, blah, blah. You've got to be in the zone. It's your subject. You know it back to front. You can talk for hours about it. So if you've got that enthusiasm, and then I think that will work. But if you think you're going to start a podcast, you think, I'm just going to start a podcast. I'm going to talk about cars because I like cars a bit, but you don't know anything about it. And then you get to a point where you've done like episode 20. I'm like, what am I going to talk about now? And it's like, well, I don't want to record a podcast anymore. I'm getting a bit bored with it, And that's when people start either stopping or they flip onto a different subject, different topic. And then they've lost that audience that maybe they may have got from the first topic. So you've got to be on the ball. And if it's your zone of genius, if it's what you know back to front, like the back of your hand, the topic you're talking about, and you love it and you could just talk about it forever, that is when you've got a good podcast. Because if you haven't got that enthusiasm, that drive to just go with it, then it's going to be a bit dry. And the podcast won't, you'll hear it in the podcast. It'll sound like it's a podcast. Starting a podcast is not a way to make money.
No, definitely not.
It's a way to get in front of more people.
Yeah, it's a growing audience, isn't it?
It's
a community,
audience.
I think.
Yeah. And from that audience, you will then possibly get clients from.
Yeah.
But you have to give before you can take.
Yeah.
And I think if you're just going into it thinking that it's the in thing to do and that you might get more money from it, it's not going to work.
No.
You need to have the passion, enthusiasm to do it. So I think that's all probably in mindset.
Yeah. So I was going to say,
I think.
Yeah, that I go into some podcasts thinking, bloody hell, I can't bother to record a podcast. But then I think, I know I will enjoy it in
the end.
When I'm in it. It's just the preparation and the traveling there and actually just like setting up and me stressing about like the audio recording, is the visual, the lights, what questions I'm asking. Because believe it or not, I don't actually prep any questions I'm going to ask. I just kind of like go with the flow of all my guests because I don't know. I just like to do that.
Well, I think you do it very well.
Yeah. I think I should prep more with my guests. And then when you're in it, you think, oh yeah, it's great. And like you say, for me, I think it's when I first started, I was probably in the same mindset. Start a podcast, be able to make some money on some brand deals, whatever.
Yeah.
And then it'll be sound. But then I think the next thing I'm going to ask you is about what your opinion is on my podcast. And then when I had that switch of mindset of thinking, all right, okay, so nobody really cares about what I've been up to this week, or, well, people would be nosy, but it didn't really bring anything to my life. I was thinking that, why do people really get bothered about me going to Marbella? It doesn't really make that much difference. I'll go into Ibiza.
Yeah.
And then when I thought, all right, well, how could I really utilize this to my benefit? I thought, what do I do to make money? I've got a marketing agency. All right, okay. So who's my clients? Business owners. So why don't I reach out to business owners and network with them, and then hopefully they'll think, Adam's sound, and then do it. Then when I started doing that, I managed to sign a couple of clients from it. And even though I don't directly make money from the podcast, as a byproduct, I will within my business. And
absolutely, yeah.
And for me because I really enjoy having the conversation with the business owners. It's so fascinating of where they started and where they are now and how they got there. And everyone's journey is different.
Yeah,
and like you say, bouncing ideas off people. And for me to be able to reach out to somebody that I find really interesting and maybe a bit inspirational and say, how do you want to come on the podcast and let's have a chat about your story? Like same with you. And then they see me for me rather than me as Adam, the social media, or Adam, the marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we can build that relationship. And then further down the line, if they reach out to me and say, should we talk about TikTok or whatever, or I say to them, or love to help you improve your social media, it's a lot more organic and just more, I don't know, it just works better that way. And
I think you've done the right thing. I can see how it's changed as well, how you present yourself on your podcasts as well. You've got, I mean, how you do it, I mean, it's fantastic. A lot of people just sit at home, record and just send it. But you've got all the equipment, you go to people's houses or places of work or whatever, and you set up and record. It's a lot to ask. And I can see where that can get tiresome. Absolutely. It's like when we used to be in a band and you had to go and set up all the equipment first, set the drum kit up, take it all out of the van.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Ball ache, that
you think, I can't be bothered. But when you're there,
but when you're there, that's the best bit. And all the rest of it is like, we've got to put all the stuff back in the van now. Yeah. You know, but you're doing it on a high then because you've just done a half an hour awesome gig. But I think I can see it in the way, and the format you've got, I think, is brilliant as well. The way you've with your 3 facts and you're going through, you know, because people like talking about themselves.
That's a favourite topic of conversation. It's the best topic of conversation.
Yeah, people like talking about themselves. So I didn't have a clue what I was going to say at all. I sort of had an inkling about the facts. But when you're in front of the camera, you think, and your brain freezes and you think, what am I going to say now? Yeah. So, but yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but I think structure as well is so important.
Structure, yes.
Like when I first started, I thought, I need to talk an hour to someone. I need to talk to someone for an hour. What do I talk about? But then when you say, all right, we'll do the 3 facts for 10 minutes, and then you talk about them, what they were like growing up for 20 minutes, and then their business entrepreneurial thing for 20 minutes, and the last 10 minutes is biggest regret and biggest mistake. It makes it so much more manageable. Yeah. And you can, and I feel like I like Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO one. So it's like he kind of just talks about people's journey, and so I just think it just makes sense, doesn't it?
Absolutely,
especially if I'm interviewing someone for the first time, it just makes me understand them a bit more, and
of course,
you can ask different questions and that kind of thing. I think that's one thing I'd say to people.
This is quite bizarre actually, because you know, I usually just talk to you over Instagram and I listen to your voice, but having you in my studio is quite bizarre. Quite bizarre, yeah.
But so the last thing before I say about biggest mistake or biggest regret.
Okay.
How would you say my podcast has improved or adapted or evolved over the time? Because it launched December 2021 and now we're in March 2023. So how would you say the last year and a half-ish it's improved, has evolved or developed or changed?
It's improved, absolutely.
It's a long way to go though.
Well, see, the thing is, like I said before, you adapt. You see, you haven't got your own studio. You know, like you said before, you said you love to have your own studio, and great. You know, you could have the setup how you wanted it. You could have the lighting how you wanted it. You have the audio setup. All you have to do is press record. Bosh, all done. You carry your equipment with you to different places and record in different places where you have.
Sorry, I'll interject.
Sorry.
Just the reason for that is because, say, for me, it's easier for me to go to their place of work and they're more comfortable, so they open up more.
Yes.
Whereas if it's a studio, they'd be a bit more like, well, whatever.
Well, that adds to the ambience of, not ambulance, the ambience of your each cast is different because you're in a different place.
Yeah, it's cool.
And where you're speaking to your guest, they're, like you said, they're in their comfortable place and that's part of their personality as well. So I think that's brilliant. And I think because you started off with Luke and you were like talking over a table sort of that way, but you've got to the point now where you know you're like this setup now. You're usually on this side.
I know.
I'm sorry to put you off, but it's only because the arm here is for this. And I didn't have another microphone stand for you there. But that was the only reason. And I thought,
I just think it's.
Well, I think you've got into a good workflow. I think you've got into a flow of where you put the lights, where you put the camera, where you place your clients. And then you don't have to worry about it then. You just have to hit record. And then you, like you said, use the structure of your podcast to just have a conversation, you know, and Chatzzz is the best way to say you're just having a chats, you know.
Yeah.
And I think because you've just kept like that, been consistent, and I think the consistency is shown in the quality of your videos as well, I think. And plus I can see your thumbnails have changed over time, and they're quite good as well. And I think that I'm not a YouTube person, but I know your thumbnails are an important part of it. But I think I've also improved over time whilst doing your videos. So I found ways of making your videos sound better as well. So like you said, when you thought you only had the one mic on, I found a way that I could get you both in there, and you wouldn't have thought that had happened. So I think we're both growing in both our businesses. And, you know, I'm always looking to find new ways of making my job quicker, but not diminishing the quality, and sometimes even getting better quality as well in some cases. You know, some of the audio I get from you, I'm thinking, oh, how am I going to do that? So it pushes me to get you to where you need to be.
I wish you recorded that. That's a nice way to say it. Probably wouldn't have stuck the podcast out if I was just doing it just like general chit chat.
Yes.
And say when we first started last year, I was doing it bi-weekly, and I was doing the weekly YouTube video of just me going on holiday or me talking about whatever. And when I changed it, started to marketing, like a short one. But then this year, like you say about the consistency, I feel like it's a really important marketing tool for me and my business to help grow. That's why I said to you last year, I said, right, next year I'm going to do one every week, and I'm going to stick to it.
Yes.
Even though it is a lot of time investment for me, it's worth it, isn't it? And like you were saying to me before the podcast, that people think that they're going to get a direct return from the podcast, and you're not going to get it straight away.
No.
It's one of them things that you need to be willing to be in for the long term.
You need to have faith.
Yeah,
I think
in yourself.
Yes,
faith in yourself. I think
absolutely.
more than anything, and just don't give up on it, because long form content is so valuable. I think
it's what they call green evergreen.
I don't know,
because you've made this content now
forever,
and it's there forever. And you can take snippets and all sorts of things, repurposing and everything.
That's what I mean, and that's what my main business is these days. It's just short form content, and I can, if I want, I should do more, but you can repurpose it forever. And if you see someone on Instagram or TikTok, you're seeing 20-second snippets of them, and then if they like you, but they want to see more, they'll watch a long form piece of content.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then they'll really understand who you are as a person, not just that 5 ways to go viral on TikTok. They'll think, all right, well, Adam, he lives in Cumbria, or he went on holiday there, or Phil's his podcast editor, or whatever. And it's just, I think if you've got a business and you don't have a podcast, then you're missing out on an opportunity.
But just something I'll add to that as well is, because I know you're a massive TikToker as well.
Stopped posting recently though.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, I've just been too busy. I need to get back on it, and I want to start doing it with the podcast clips. That's what I want to do.
Okay. That would work. But I was saying also, the audiences are different. What I have noticed is that long form content, people who are introverted prefer long form content like blogs and podcasts. And then you've got your extroverts that like your immediate sort of Insta likes and TikToks and stuff. The Reels and TikToks are very extroverted ways, and that's a very extroverted audience. Everybody will I'll flick for like half an hour if I forget, I didn't have a time to say, stop looking, because it is, a load of it is rubbish half the time, but you'll get the one odd thing that you think, oh, that's interesting.
It's a dopamine hit though, isn't it?
Exactly. But you've got two audiences, and I think if you've got short form and long form, you're covering both bases. And like you said, somebody who just sees you on a short TikTok clip goes, oh, I like the cut of his jib, I like what he's saying. And then they know you've got a podcast, then they'll get to know you a bit better by listening to you on the podcast. And vice versa as well. I like the way that you're interviewing people and you listen and you ask great questions as well. And you're enthusiastic and about your guest and what they're talking about, and you bring the best out in them, I think, as well. And I've forgotten where I'm going with this.
But now I was going to say, like, I'm genuinely interested in the people that I interview.
Yeah.
And
I can see that.
If I wanted to, I could maybe message like famous people, but that doesn't really bring anything to me. Like, I'd rather interview people that...
Well, you're just doing
normal.
A networking, really, aren't you?
And say, I was going to say, I think it's important, well, for me or anybody else who's similar-ish, to be strategic with who you interview as well. Not too strategic, but say for me, I think it's important, say at the moment I've been focusing on messaging people on LinkedIn, because I think LinkedIn is a channel that I really want to grow in, and I feel there's more valuable connections. So if I can interview people who've got a decent following or engagement on LinkedIn, then when I post a podcast on LinkedIn, I'm getting some good reactions, more on like Facebook and Instagram really.
Okay.
And then when, say, their network goes and listens to the podcast, they think, oh yeah, I've listened to X podcast, and they come across me and they come into the short form content and the long form content. And then if I message them further down the line, they say, oh yeah, I've seen that person. And that's just a great way to pick pockets of people. Absolutely. And say, right, well, I've gained 100 people from that podcast. So I've gained 50 people from that podcast and another 200 people from that podcast. And after you build all these pockets, you've got a decent community and a core audience that trust you and value you and that kind of thing. So that's kind of like direction I'm at the moment. I say strategic. It's not really strategic. It's just like the direction.
It is strategic. I mean, the big thing about podcasts is, as well as having your own podcast, it's interviewing other people who had podcasts so that you bring their audience to you and you get interviewed. So you need to be getting interviewed more yourself by other podcasters as well.
I don't think I'd like that though.
Well, depends on, I mean, because they wouldn't have the same strategy that you have to your... the format you have. They might have their own format, but I mean, if you put yourself up to say, I'm up for being, because you can be interviewed by lots of people. There'll be people starting out too. So it might be a good way of getting in front of other people, because I know a lot of my podcasters, they're on other people's podcasts all the time because they're getting in front of their audiences, you see.
Yeah.
And that's how they help each other.
Just makes sense.
A good tip is, when you want to launch a podcast, is usually to have at least 4 or 5 interviews and launch them all at the same time, but ask the people you've interviewed to get their audience to listen to your podcast on the first day. And, you'll get quite a good first listen to your first episode, and then people will drop off. But the ones that like it will stay with you, and you've garnered another, more people to your...
Definitely.
But you're doing it hard way around, because you're networking, so you're still getting in front of other people, because I'm sure the people you've interviewed will want to show off the video and say, we've got interviewed on a podcast, so they get the people that they know to come and listen to you.
Yeah,
so you're still getting their audience, not as big, but you'll get their audience.
Yeah. And in Cumbria, nobody's really got a podcast as well. So
that's massive.
It's the same kind of podcast that I do. Not that I know of anyway.
No.
And I wouldn't know if there was one. So
it's interesting.
So then the next thing, biggest mistake or biggest regret, personal or business.
Oh, bloody hell.
One or the other or both.
Regret.
Wrap this up soon, I reckon.
Okay.
Ages.
Honestly, I can't say I've got any regrets.
No.
I've made mistakes in my life, but I believe all the choices I've made have got to me where I am now.
Yeah.
Good or bad. It's developed me who I am as a person. I've got, loving fiance. She's fantastic. I've got great family around me. I've got a job that supports me. I've got a roof over my head. When I was young, I was spending on credit cards and trying to keep up with the Joneses, but I couldn't, that got me in loads of debt. And so that was something I learned. So I suppose that would be a regret, I suppose, but it's made me manage my money better now.
Yeah.
Because I know what I was like in those times of I've got no money. I can't buy the train to work. I've got to get on the train and try and sneak on without paying. Yeah. Or all I've got is 60p for food today. So, a packet of chips is probably as best as I can get, so I've been through those hard times, but I wouldn't say I regret them. I think they've just made me stronger and given me more confidence to know that I'm not going to go back there again.
Yeah. I think it's important, isn't it, to go through the tough times, isn't it?
Yeah. Because otherwise, like you said, if there's no tough times, you won't know what the good times are if they're always good. And I'm a good believer in that.
Well, Right, so as always on the podcast, we have technical difficulties. The battery died.
Fantastic.
So
It wouldn't be a podcast without a technical difficulty, would it?
So Phil, anyone that's thinking of starting a podcast or on the fence, what would you say to them?
Just do it. Just do it. Just research it yourself or give me a call. Or I'm on Instagram at podcast_assist or Phil at MyPodcastAssistant.com. Send me an email. I can give you some tips on where you need to go, what you need to do, like I did with yourself.
Yeah.
Plug here, if I may.
Yeah, you meant to, yeah.
Well, I'm actually coming up because I'm at capacity. I'm starting to create a digital package to allow people to edit their own podcasts in a really simple way that will still give them professional results. It still means they have to do it themselves, but the workflow I'm creating is so easy. It's like editing a Word document, but you're editing the audio at the same time. So that is coming hopefully the end of March.
Oh, exciting, yeah.
I've got loads of videos to record for it, and I hate recording videos, so it may take a bit longer, but I've got a new website coming out hopefully the end of March as well. So that'll be mypodcastassistant.com. So if you go on there, there's loads of tips. And if you go on my Insta feed, there's loads of tips there from starting, what equipment to have. On my website, there's a quiz on what equipment you need, depending if you're on a bootstrapping budget or if you've got all the money in the world. So that'll tell you what microphones you need and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so I'd say that's probably where you want to get started. Have an idea. You want to go with it. Flesh it out with me and we'll see if we can run with it. And then you just need to, get a plan of how many episodes you want to do. And if you want to do a solo or if you want to do an interview or there's more of you, there might be 4 of you. You might want to just do a chat where there's just 4 of you chatting about stuff, Lots of people do video as well. I'm not doing video myself, but if you want to do it, I can let you know what sort of equipment you need to actually start and do that. So
highly recommend everyone go and check out Phil. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like the video, comment your favourite part. If you've got any questions for Phil, leave it in the comments below. Listen, Apple or Spotify, make sure to follow the podcast and leave a 5-star review. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.